Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. Prime Minister Dahal urges Nepali nationals not to go to restricted countries without government approval. Claims efforts are being made to repatriate Nepalese in the Russian army. Economy contracting due to lack of market demand. International trade goes down in 6 months of the ongoing fiscal year compared to the same period last year. Iran-backed militia targets the Al-Assad U.S. air base in western Iraq with ballistic missiles and rockets. A number of U.S. military personnel injured. And New Zealand give Nepal a daunting victory target of 303 runs in the ongoing Under-19 World Cup in South Africa. Snehith Reddy scores an unbeaten century for the Kiwis. Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal has said efforts are underway to bring home at the earliest Nepalese nationals involved in the Russia-Ukraine war, but clarified that it would take time for Russia to address Nepal's requests. Speaking with the media at the Tribhuvan International Airport as he returned from Uganda following the 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit, Premier Dahal said there was a need to stop Nepalese nationals from going abroad for employment against existing laws.
परिणाम नआउनमा अब हामी किनभने रुससँग कुरा भइराखेकै छ रुस युक्रेन दुईटै युद्धमा छन् हामीले भनेको कुरालाई उनीहरुले कतिको प्रेसरको रूपमा लिन्छन् त्यो हेर्ने कुरा तपाई हामी सबै लाग्न पर्छ यसमा त सरकारले मात्रै गर्ने बित्तिकै सरकारले पठाएको पनि होइन सरकारले भन्ने बित्तिकै चाहिँ रुसले मान्दिहाल्ने पनि कुरो छैन त्यसकारण यो हामी सबैको साझा प्रयास र लगातारको प्रयासले परिणाम निकाल्नु पर्छ व्यापक जनतामा एउटा चेतना फैलाउनु पर्यो जहाँ त्यही चाहिँ जागिर खाने नाममा चाहिँ नेपालको राज्यको नीति विपरीत संविधानको मर्म विपरीत हाम्रो लोकतान्त्रिक राष्ट्रिय स्वाधीनताको भावना विपरीत जहाँ पनि सेनामा भर्ती हुने जहाँ पनि जाने अझ बाटो छलेर जाने.
On a different note, the Prime Minister said the bill related to transitional justice would be finalized and the peace process concluded through consensus once the winter session of the Parliament kicks off.
टुङ्ग्याउने कुरा सहमतिबाट टुङ्ग्याउन मेरो पुरै कोसिस छ. मैले लगातार प्रमुख राजनीतिक दलका नेताहरूसँग वार्ता संवाद गरेको पनि छु र मलाई विश्वास छ अन्तिममा सहमतिबाट नै टीआरसी विधेयक टुङ्गिन्छ र शान्ति प्रक्रियाको बाँकी काम टुङ्ग्याउने प्रक्रियाले गति लिन्छ.
Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal also said he had already gave hints to the incumbent ministers regarding cabinet reshuffle.
1 वर्ष पूरा भएको उपलक्ष्यमा जसरी सम्बोधन गरेको थिए मैले आफूले चाहिँ त्यही अनुसार गति बढाएको नै मलाई महसुस भएको छ. चाहे सिंहदरबारको कामको कुरा हो, चाहे मन्त्रालयको ब्रिफिङको कुरा हो, चाहे अवलोकनसँग सम्बन्धित कुरा होस् या मन्त्रीहरूलाई टार्गेट दिएर पूरा नगरे राम्रो हुँदैन भन्ने किसिमले मैले कुनै न कुनै रूपले संकेत यदि चाहिँ अब पनि सरकारको कामले गति लिएन र मन्त्रालयहरूले आफ्नो जिम्मेवारीलाई ठीक ढंगले पूरा नगर्ने हो भने मन्त्रीमण्डल पुनर्गठन हुन सक्छ भन्ने कुरा मैले मान्य मन्त्रीज्यूहरूलाई भनेको पनि छु. त्यसकारण हामी गति लिने कोसिसमा छौं.
Premier Dahal claimed his Uganda visit was successful. He had left for Uganda on the 18th of this month and addressed the summit as well. The Premier also held meetings with heads of different states and governments during his stay in Kampala, the capital of Uganda. The Customs Department has reported the market is still shrinking due to lack of demand. Foreign trade shrank in the first 6 months of the ongoing Nepalese fiscal year by 3.47%. Publishing a report today, the Customs Department highlighted that imports had gone down by 3.9% and exports by 7.23% between mid-July 2023 to mid-January this year. During the same period last fiscal year, goods worth 792 billion 660 million rupees were imported. This year, imports stood at 768 billion 160 million rupees during the same period. The most exported goods so far this year is steel, worth at 6 billion rupees, followed by carpet at 5 billion, cardamom worth 3 billion and tea worth 2 billion. The most imported goods was petrol at 125 billion rupees, followed by steel at 18 billion, mobile phones of 15 billion and coal worth 10 billion rupees. Overall, foreign trade in the past 6 months was worth 843 billion rupees and trade deficit stands at 693 billion rupees. According to the Customs Department, the government collected the highest revenue of 49 billion rupees from petroleum products, 4 billion rupees from electric vehicles, 2 billion from smartphones and 2,770 million rupees from motorcycles. Now, Minister for Physical Infrastructure and Transport Management Prakash Jwala is holding discussions with transport ministers of all 7 provinces regarding the proposed Motor Vehicles and Transport Management Bill and the issues seen in coordination between the federal government and the provinces to maintain road safety. The meeting at Singadarbar is also being attended by provincial secretaries and officials of the transport management. The ministry is currently doing legworks to table the Motor Vehicles and Transport Management Bill at the nearing session of the Parliament. Today's meeting also dwelt on measures to ensure provincial laws do not conflict with the federal laws, as the former is yet to be formulated. Likewise, the other agendas of the meeting are extending the license period to 10 years and the distribution of the pending 600,000 licenses. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, why has the border dispute between Nepal and India recurred? Your options are A, India's high-handedness, B, lack of bilateral efforts, and C, due to open border. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. A number of U.S. military personnel have been injured in a missile attack on an airbase in western Iraq. The U.S. military Central Command said an Iran-backed militia targeted the Al-Assad airbase, which hosts American troops, with ballistic missiles and rockets yesterday evening. An unspecified number of U.S. personnel were undergoing evaluation for traumatic brain injuries. At least one Iraqi service member was wounded in the attack. The strike against the base was claimed by a group calling itself the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. According to the U.S.-based Washington Institute for Near East Policy, the group emerged in late 2023 and is comprised of several Iran-affiliated armed groups operating in Iraq. It has claimed other attacks against U.S. forces in recent weeks, and Al-Assad base has been attacked repeatedly in recent years. The U.S. military said most of the missiles fired yesterday were intercepted, but some evaded air defenses and hit the base, adding that an assessment of the damage is ongoing. It is the latest in a series of attacks on U.S. positions in Iraq and Syria by Iran's proxies in the region since the outbreak of the Israel-Gaza conflict last October. The U.S. military and allies have also intervened to stop Houthi missile attacks on international shipping in the Red Sea. U.S. forces carried out another airstrike yesterday against the Houthis, an Iran-backed rebel group controlling much of western Yemen. The Iranian military has carried out a number of missile strikes in recent days against targets in Syria, Iraq and Pakistan. Earlier yesterday, Iran accused Israel of carrying out an airstrike in the Syrian capital, Damascus, which killed 5 senior members of Iran's security forces. It's day 107 of the Israel-Hamas war. The death toll has crossed the grim 25,000 mark, with at least 178 Palestinians killed in the past 24 hours. The health ministry in Gaza has said a total of 25,105 Palestinians have now been killed and 62,681 injured in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7. Heavy clashes in southern Khan Yunis city was reported this afternoon between Palestinian fighters on the ground and invading Israeli forces. The battle centered around the Nasser hospital. Meanwhile, thousands staged protests in Tel Aviv as pressure mounts on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Protesters have called for an immediate release of the captives held in Gaza and elections to replace the Netanyahu government. Displaced Palestinians in Gaza say it is increasingly difficult to find medicine for their children who suffer from a wide range of illnesses while living in tent camps in the south of the Gaza Strip. Recent escalation of violence has exacerbated the already existing problems, with the lack of access to basic necessities such as medicines and healthcare becoming a major concern for thousands of displaced families. Palestinian mothers say they are unable to find fever medication, antibiotics or pain relief for her children. A doctor at the European hospital in Khan Yunis added that most hospitals have become ill-equipped to handle the rising number of patients and in particular children. As temperatures drop during the winter months, the situation becomes even more critical. The lack of proper housing and heating means that families are forced to live in tents or makeshift shelters, leaving them vulnerable to cold and pneumonia. The World Health Organization says most of the enclave's 36 hospitals have stopped working. Only 15 are partially functioning, and those are operating at up to 3 times their capacity, without adequate fuel and medical supplies. Infectious diseases have been spreading rapidly. According to the organization representative in Gaza, the number of diarrhea cases among children aged under 5 was 20 times higher in November 2023 compared with the average the previous year. Now, Iran has vowed to fight back against Israel after a missile strike killed 5 Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC), the officers in Damascus and several Syrian troops on Saturday. This was among the latest missile attacks in the Middle East as the Gaza conflict has inflamed tensions across the region. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi has said in a statement published on the website of his office that the killing was a terrorist move through a flagrant violation of Syrian airspace, adding that Israel's attacks will not remain unanswered by Iran. Earlier yesterday, the IRGC said that 5 of its members serving as military advisors in Syria, as well as several Syrian forces and civilians, were killed in the Israeli missile attack on the Madzeh neighborhood of Damascus. The Iranian Foreign Ministry condemned the attack and vowed that Iran will respond at the right time and place. The Syrian government said in a statement that Israeli forces carried out the attack from the airspace above the occupied Golan Heights, firing missiles at the residential area. It said it intercepted some of those missiles with its air defenses, but one building was totally destroyed and some neighboring buildings were damaged. Syrian civil defense authorities continue to search for survivors and retrieve the bodies of the victims. Asia to Europe's shipping costs are surging as hundreds of container ships are being rerouted around southern Africa's Cape of Good Hope to avoid attacks by Yemen's Houthi group in the Red Sea. Data from the Shanghai Shipping Exchange shows that in 8 weeks ending on 12th of January, the shipping cost per container has surged over 300% for the Shanghai to Europe route and 250% for the Shanghai to Mediterranean route to hit $3,103 and $4,037 respectively. French shipping group CMA-CGM announced earlier this month that it would increase its rates from Asia to Mediterranean region by up to 100% as of 15th of January compared to 1st. According to Freightos, a booking and payments platform for international freight, rates for Asia to North Europe shipments more than doubled to above $4,000 per 40-foot container, and Asia to Mediterranean prices climbed to more than $5,000 in the first week of 2024. The Red Sea waterway carries about 12% of global trade. The detour around the Cape of Good Hope increases sailing time from Asia to Europe by up to 20 days. Tensions have escalated in the Red Sea following US-led airstrikes on Houthi military targets last week after repeated Houthi attacks on commercial ships. The Houthis claim that the attacks were in response to the ongoing Israeli military campaign in the Gaza Strip. During the past several weeks, the Houthi group has intensified military operations in the Red Sea and the Bab al-Mandab Strait, targeting commercial ships with armed boats, drones and missiles. The group claims these vessels are either Israeli or heading to Israeli ports. Back home, Gandaki province thrashed Koshi Province by a huge margin of 142 runs in the Prime Minister Cup National Cricket Tournament today. In the match played at the capital's Mulpani ground, Gandaki were put to bat first and were bowled out for a below-par total of 167 runs in 48.2 overs. Gandaki had a disastrous start as they lost 5 wickets when only 38 runs were on the board in 11.5 overs. They were finally bowled out after posting 167 runs. Mushkan Thapa top scored for Gandaki with 67 runs, while skipper Bipin Khatri also contributed 42. Avyas Timulsina, who grabbed 6 wickets, was the leading wicket-taker for Koshi. Chasing a victory target of 168 runs, Koshi had a much worse start than Gandaki and were bowled out for just 25 runs. Wickets kept tumbling in regular intervals after Koshi's first wicket of opener, Sonu Ansari, fell in the first ball of the innings. Skipper Ankit Subedi was the leading run scorer for Koshi with 8 wickets. None of the Koshi batters were able to score in double digits as 4 batters were out for ducks. Bipin Khatri, who grabbed 6 wickets, was instrumental in bowling out Koshi for such a low score. Gandaki registered their first win in the tournament today, while Koshi are winless with 6 consecutive losses. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.